In this tutorial, we're going to be going over how to make a dual render scope for Ravenfield. There are already a few tutorials on just making a dual render scope in general for Unity, but I haven't found those too helpful. And first off, just credit to Ryu Turner on Steam and on Discord for helping me through figuring out this process. So once you've modeled your scope object, it basically needs to be just a hollow cylinder with nothing in the middle. And I have a reticle up here that's actually needs to get gotten rid of, but you're going to actually need the reticle to be back here at the edge of the scope that is facing the player. And additionally, you're going to need to make a simple 2D disk, if I can select it. And additionally, you're going to need to make a simple 2D disk, like this, just a flat surface. And before you begin, you need to make sure it has 0 rotation and 0 scale. Then enter edit mode, select everything, hit U, Smart UV Project, move everything at the default, hit OK. And that's all you need to do in Blender. If you're going to have a reticle like on the red dot or anything, you're going to need to have a second lens that is in front of it. So you can see right here there's a second object that's part of the scope, and that has the glass texture. So in Unity, the first thing you're going to need to do is create a new render texture. I've already done that. And so dimensions 2D, size 500 by 500 should generally be enough, but I went with a bit higher of a resolution just because I thought it looked better. And then make sure all of your configurations are set to this, otherwise it's not going to work properly. Except for size, you can change that to whatever you like. The next thing you're going to need to do is create a new material. So create material. Again, I've already done that. And you're going to set shader type to unlit texture, and then choose your render texture as the target texture. And I've just named it DR for dual render texture, and then DR glass rear. And then you find that separate 2D disk in your scope object. So this that I've named the DR lens. And then for its material, you just choose the material that you've recently made. And I've chosen to just duplicate this object repeatedly for different scopes because I found that to be easier than having to just make a new one every time. But if you really want to, you can make a separate disk for every optic you make, but you don't need to make a new material or texture each time. The next thing you're going to need to do is make a camera. And it's important the camera is not parented to the weapon body, otherwise it's going to mess some stuff up. So in order to do that in your hierarchy, just right click, camera. It's going to need to have these configurations except for field of view. Field of view is it basically zooms it in and out. It acts differently to the field of view you configure for the aim FOV, because traditionally this would be a very low FOV for something like this, but for some reason that's what the dual render camera likes. And it's going to need to be positioned so that it's best to do this with like one FOV. Actually, I will hide that little guy. That the bullseye of the target is right in the middle. And you can also do this by entering orthographic mode and just zooming in on the reticle. But as you can see, that's right in the middle, so that it will actually hit there when you aim. And then let's set up, and if we go back into here, this should all be correct. And if we enter play mode, As you can see, it's still at 1 FOV. So if we change that back to 10, you can see that it works just fine. And then if you could see now how when it's in the sprint position, it's still rendering the target. That won't happen in Unity, not Unity. That won't happen in game. That's just a quirk of how Unity works. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you for watching.